ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are all taking care of yourselves really well today, and always. Anyways, I wanted to discuss something kind of interesting because, well, chosen ones. This video is about the chosen ones, for the chosen ones, right? Or for the people that are, interested in learning about the chosen ones, right? And so the chosen ones are they're the true God's people, right? They're the ones that have experienced at this time. They have probably awakened to the fact that they are spiritual beings, right? And so they're on a mission, right? And so they have a slightly greater mission here on earth, right? So they're, you can call them old souls too. You can call them God's people. You can call them, light workers, right? And of course, we're not all the same, right? We still, as chosen ones, we still have a different mission, right? And so we're not all going to have the same mission, right? And so some of us, we might all be scattered around the world, right? And we might all be in different locations, which we probably are, right? And we also, we all have, we're all in different fields too, right? So we're not all, for example, in just like the medical field, right? Or the holistic field. Some of us might be in tech, some of us might be in construction, right? Some of us might be in any field basically, right? So you'll find chosen ones everywhere in every field, and and in different purpose, right? So we all have a different purpose, but ultimately, I think it does come down to you know, it is ultimately about uplifting the and redirecting humanity's consciousness. Okay, so humanity actually focuses on ascending. Okay, so the ultimate goal, I think, for all of us, okay, no matter which field we're in, is to uplift humanity and their consciousness, okay, and to ascend, to help this planet ascend, okay. And so yeah, anyways, but in this particular video, I wanted to discuss why the chosen ones struggle financially, okay, because a lot of us really do struggle financially, guys, and it sucks, and I'm sure you know all about it, okay? And there are actually many reasons for this, okay? And I wrote down 7 things that I could think of, okay? There could be more, but these are the ones that I kind of, came up with, right? And so let's discuss them, okay? For the chosen ones, right? They came here to sort of evolve or help others evolve. They came here to help the lost souls and to get them into the light again, right? And so because their mission is so great, and because it's a spiritual battle, right? As it's stated in the Bible, for we battle not against the flesh and blood, right? But against the principalities, the dark principalities, right? In high places or something like that, right? Don't quote me on that. I think that was kind of wrong, but you get the idea, right? We're not battling against the flesh and blood or the physical bodies. Well, it relates too, right? But we're battling against the spirits, right? That are in people, okay? And then people, more often than not, they don't even know it. They don't know that they have these spirits. They're being driven by them, but they don't know it, okay? And so, you know, and yeah, so because it's a spiritual battle, right? Um, the chosen ones are attacked on every front when it comes to that, okay, and especially when it comes to their finances, okay. So um, the chosen ones struggle financially. First, the number one reason is that they're dreamers, okay, and they desire to do what they love for a living, okay, guys. So with them, the chosen ones have a really low tolerance for bull. and for something that kills their soul, right? So they're not going to sell their soul to a job, right? Just to get money for something, right? So in exchange for, let's just say they're stuck in a minimum wage job, right? They're not going to stay there for too long, especially if they don't see any kind of progress, if they don't see any kind of room for growth, especially if they don't see any kind of, prospects in that job, right? So they're not going to stay in that job if there's no room for growth, there's no room for evolution, and they're going to see it very quickly. They might make the mistake of getting a job, right? And then, you know, recognizing very quickly that that's all that they're going to be doing, right? Or maybe they'll evolve or do some other things too, and they'll progress, and then they'll hit, eventually every job is like this, right? You kind of progress until you hit a wall and there's no more room for growth, right? And so a lot of people, they might just stay in a job like this, right? But chosen ones are not like this, right? Chosen ones are very, like I said, they're old souls, and they came here on a mission. So when it comes to their jobs, they want to grow, okay? They want to grow in every way, right? And that includes in their jobs too. Okay, so if they're not growing, if they're stagnant in something, right? Whether it's a relationship or a job, then they're not going to stay there for too long. They're just going to leave, you know? So, and so also another thing, right, is that they're not going to do something just for the money. They, especially as they get older, right, and especially as they get closer to their own light, right, and so, and especially when they spiritually awaken, right, because spiritual awakening almost kind of brings an alignment, okay, and so that alignment, it kind of drives you, it drives you towards doing the things that you love to do, okay? You will not settle for anything else. Like, your tolerance level just goes down to almost zero after spiritual awakening, you know. And yeah, you will also, you will notice that you will lose all of your ambition in the beginning, right? All of your drive. And that's just the process, it's just, it comes with spiritual awakening, right? Is that you lose all of your drive, you lose, you don't want to do anything really, So there's this adaptation period where you kind of need to learn to operate in, the physical and the spiritual realms, so, and so that's the, it takes time, to readjust, okay, and kind of to become grounded again, right? And so that's why, you lose your ambition also, and you don't care about that stuff anymore, okay. But of course we're physical beings, right? So we still need to care about that, right? Because we need to feed ourselves, we need to clothe ourselves, maybe we have children, right? And so maybe we have families, right? So yeah, but that just comes with that. But anyways, let's go back to them doing what they love for a living, right? So the chosen ones will forever try to find what they love to do, and that might include changing their jobs many different times so they can find that spark, so they can find that passion, so they're not going to stay in something, guys. Like, for me, staying, I've been teaching for 6 years, and for me that's like the longest that I've ever had a job for, and because I love it, because that's what I love to do, and because, and yeah, I did find something else that I love doing too, right? But once again, that just came from learning about myself and from growing in that teaching job, so there's that, right? And also those two fields, like the hypnotherapy field and the teaching field, in a sense they're kind of similar, I know most people will not see it, right? But it has to do with helping others, right? It has to do with helping others evolve, and then helping others heal, and yeah. So because, guys, whether you want to believe it or not, good teachers are also kind of like counselors, because they get to know their students, right? And so they become like counselors, and so there's that, maybe not every teacher, but yeah. Um, anyway, so let's go back to point number two, okay? They refuse to steal, okay, lie or cheat to get their wealth, okay? And guys, a lot of jobs out there they include doing something sketchy, they include, scamming people, they include lying to people, right? Participating in all these pyramid schemes to get rich, right? And so on, right? Selling courses that will never work. I don't know, and just doing a lot of different activities that involve deceiving people, right? And so, um, you know, um, this is this is not what some that it's not that chosen ones are perfect, right? But they learned over time that these things do not work, right? And for the most part, when they did encounter something like this in the past, they would perhaps they tried something maybe, right? But then they quickly realized that, wait a minute, no, right? There's a Holy Spirit, right? We have a different spirit. Chosen ones have that Holy Spirit that's very prominent in us, right? And especially after spiritual awakening, right? And so it's automatically, if you do something wrong, if you do something that goes against your heart, and you're going to know very fast, okay? Because you're going to get convicted, right? And with that conviction comes this really like deep sense of dread and like disgust even, so and you will automatically know when the opportunity that's presented to you is a scam, right? And you should not be doing it, so there's that, and so, you know you basically, because you refuse to participate in things like that, right? Because of that Holy Spirit conviction that you have, that's within, that's very strong, okay? You're not gonna do it. You're not gonna, you're not gonna scam people. You're not gonna lie to people. You're not gonna cheat, okay? Because that's just not what you're called to do. You're called to be honest. You're called to work on yourself, right? You might not be perfect, right? And you might make mistakes, especially in the past, right? And but you're here to, you're here to be a pure soul, and with your pure soul, you can be a leader that leads others into their own light, right? And so you're here to be an example, right? You're not here to cheat, lie, or steal, or scam others, or to manipulate others out of their wealth, right? Or to pretend to be someone you're not just so you can get something, right? And so that's why also it's taking you longer than usual to get rich, okay? Financially rich at least, okay? We all know that chosen ones are truly wealthy because they already have their soul, right? And if you have the soul, and if you have your soul in this world, then you're extremely wealthy. That's all that you need at the end of the day, because you can take the financial wealth with you, right? And that's why, guys, even the very wealthy, financially wealthy people are extremely jealous of you more often than not, okay? Because they don't have something that you do, and that's your soul, that's your morals, that's your values, right? That's your strong moral compass, right? They don't have that, and you do, okay? And that's why, um, and that's true wealth, okay? So you guys have that, so you're very wealthy. Just so you guys know, okay? Okay, so point number three, right? They get attacked and ganged up on at work, okay, and often are fired because they have a different spirit, guys. It's a spiritual battle, right? And so at work, you will notice that they might just stay out of the way, right? And yeah, guys, so um, they have a different spirit, okay, and that fierce the spirit, that Holy Spirit that they operate in, is very much felt. It's very much a threat to many people that have demonic spirits, right? And of course, that's not all people, thank God, right? And so yeah, those people that are very much in the darkness, those people that live their lives lying, scamming, cheating, abusing, they're going to be exposed, okay, by the chosen one, okay? And so they're extremely afraid of that, okay? And so they're going to try to attack the chosen one. They're going to gang up on them, especially the narcissist, right? And as you guys know, in organizations, that's how it is, okay? There's always at least one narc in an organization, okay? And everyone else is like, they're kind of like the flying monkeys, or, people that just want to kind of blend in, right? But anyways, in many organizations, unfortunately, the power dynamics, they're very much geared towards, the narc being in charge, and everyone else kind of is forced to follow, okay, follow the narc, right? And so inside with the narc, okay. Not every organization is like that, but most are, and many are, okay. And so yeah, and when it comes to, the chosen ones, right, they're natural leaders, okay. They, once again, their energy is extremely powerful, okay, because of the positive inner qualities that they have and that they're working on, right? So over time they get better and better and better and better, right? They evolve. And guys, this is going to be very much felt, okay? So they're going to have a target on their back as soon as they start any kind of job where there are a lot of people in this company, okay? And so they're going to, these people are going to gang up on the chosen one, okay? And especially if it's like a face-to-face environment, right? If the chosen one has to be there, okay? If they're not, if they don't have to be there, if they work like from the side, right? Or I don't know, they work out in the field, right? Or outside, right? Where they're not really being seen by anyone else, then they'll probably prosper and do really well, right? But when it comes to working in an actual office setting, they're going to be, ganged up on, and they're going to probably eventually be fired, okay? And once again, it has to do with jealousy, with hatred, because a lot of people are very jealous and envious of the calling that the chosen ones have. They're jealous of their energy, and they know that the chosen one is extremely wealthy on the inside, and they don't have that. They want that, right? And so jealousy can cause a lot of problems for the chosen ones, and because they have to lose their job over and over again, right? Or lose jobs, like mini jobs, right, for no reason at all, like they don't do anything, right? But then they just like get let go, get fired, right? And so it's sad, it's really sad, but God sees everything, and God has seen your pain. God has seen everything that has happened to you that was unjust, and He will bless you guys. He will bless you tenfold for all of your losses, okay? And for all of those situations that were so unfair to you, and that where you were treated unkindly, and when you were pushed down, when you were struggling, and so just, guys, those times have made you stronger, okay? They've made you stronger, and you're so much stronger and better and more empathetic as a result, okay? So these people, they thought that they were kicking you down, when really, they just made you stronger. So, thank them, whatever, right? Anyways, point number 4, okay, is they need to struggle financially in order to get closer to God, and in order to learn to value the things that truly matter, okay, guys? If it wasn't for your struggle, guys, if you didn't have to struggle financially, if you didn't have lack, right? Just think of this, just think of a child, right? Just think of a small child that's getting everything, right? They're getting everything. They're getting they're getting all the toys that they want, right? They're getting everything without really recognizing the true value of work and of having those things, right? They're not going to appreciate them, guys. They're just going to get used to it. They will want more. They'll start complaining about the toys that they get, maybe over time, right? And they'll just eventually just turn narcissistic, right? And so God doesn't want you to do that, okay? God doesn't want you. Yeah, God wants you to. God is a good God, right? And He wants you to prosper, but at the same time, He knows that your true wealth lies within, right? So He wanted us to develop this from within. He wanted us to become better people. He wanted us to work on our shadow side. He wanted us to become more generous, right? He wanted us to understand what it was like to live in financial lack. Uh, this, financial lack, in a sense, it strips us of of it strips us of all that we're not, right? When we have a lot of money, right? This can make us spoiled. It can really spoil us. It can cause us to focus on the financial side of things, on the physical side of things too much. And so in that sense we kind of we disconnect, we get disconnected from God, from source. We don't, because we don't need him as much, right? We don't when we kind of when we lack financially, we're forced to go within. We're forced to pray. We're forced to rely on God to be our provider, right? And this teaches us that this teaches us to value what truly matters, and to also value the small things, right? And so we begin to value the very small things that ultimately matter. It's the small things that we will remember, right? Like small moments with our children, right? Or a little laughter with our children, or I don't know, just walking your dog, or petting your cats, right? Or drinking the tea that you like to drink, or I don't know, just looking outside, looking out. Maybe you have a mountain view, right? Or something, I don't know, it can be anything. Or just sitting on the grass and enjoying this beautiful springtime day, right? Where the sun is on your skin, right? And it just feels so good and warm. But anyway, so when you don't have that much money, you learn to enjoy the small things in life, right? And so ultimately those are the ones that really really matter. So um, that's what God wants you to understand, right? And recognize and value and appreciate. Okay, so and if you were given everything, right, you would be like a spoiled kid, spoiled rich kid that wouldn't appreciate those things and would just take it for granted, would yell, would scream, would tantrum, and would act out. Okay, and God wanted you to develop those inner positive qualities that would stick with you no matter how much money you had. Okay, then number five, okay, is the chosen ones, they refuse to sell their soul to get rich, right? And so yes, you do refuse to sell your soul to get rich. And there were so many instances when you were offered, right? You were offered a lot, guys. I was offered 100,000, right? uh, to be in a relationship with a guy, okay? And I said no. He was a Stanford grad. He was a bit crazy. I was just supposed to, I didn't have a place to stay, okay? I really needed somewhere to stay at that time, right? And I was like doing everything that I could to and I was working, right? But my jobs were like at that time, um, they were like brand ambassador jobs, right? And so I wasn't really making enough in them, right? And so, but yeah, I needed a place to stay, and I ended up staying in his place, right? And on the couch, of course, nothing happened between us, right? And he just like offered it to me, and I was like, okay, But anyways, he told me this, right? He asked me if I wanted to be his girlfriend, right? And he would pay me like 100,000, right, to be his girlfriend. And I told him no, I thought he was crazy just for asking me, and I thought it was insane, and I was like, would people do this? This is insane, Like, does he not love himself at all in order to even ask this question? You have to really lack self-love in order to think that someone would just be with you for your money and that's it, right? And be okay with that too, right? And so that's it's really sad, But yeah, so I stayed at his house for one day, I think, 1 or 2 days, right? And I think on the first, no, on the second day, he came out of the shower, right? And he was completely naked, guys, and I was just so disgusted. I just kind of like covered my face really fast and yelled, and I was like, "What are you doing? Can you please cover up?" And I was really grossed out, and that was the last time that I saw him. I got out of that place as soon as I could. I stayed there for, like I said, maybe 2 days, right? And it was just such a disgusting experience because, you know, um, a lot of chosen people, right, especially women, I'm sure they were in many situations like this where they were taking advantage of, or people try to take advantage of them, and when they really just needed a little bit of help, and yeah, guys, I can tell you, like, I can write a book on the amount of times that similar situations happened to me, when I was like looking for a place, not even like, not even a place like a free place, right? It's a place where I would pay, right, money to stay in, right? There was this Indian guy also, and like he tried to also he implied that I would like sleep in his bed, when I tried to like rent a room from him, and then I was like, what? Like, so I had to leave that situation very fast. It was in Berkeley, California, and so, yeah, there are a lot of very interesting characters in California, guys, in San Francisco, in Berkeley, okay? And I had to deal with a lot of that, guys. It was really bad, okay? So when I was looking for a place, so that was interesting. But yeah, chosen ones, we wouldn't sell our soul for that, okay? Just to get money, no, okay? Once again, I can go back to the contract that was offered to me. The guy said I would give you the contract, right? With Abercrombie and Finch or something, or Hollister. I don't remember what he said, right? But he said you have to sleep with me after, and he was a young guy, like but his energy was extremely off. He really creeped me out with his spirit, basically, okay? And so of course I said no, and but guys, imagine in this world, right, how many women, and I've talked to many women also who actually went for these kinds of offers, right? And I'm not judging them, okay? I'm just, um, I think it's terrible, how many people out there just try to buy one another like their products, and how many people treat each other like this, as if it's some kind of a transaction, as if human love, right, human relationships are, you know, I don't know, relationships, romantic relationships are just a transaction, right? Whereas the guy maybe pays, right, and the woman like stays with him, right, for his money. And yeah, of course, I'm not naive. I understand that this is happening all the time, and it happens, right, and it just is what it is. But I think that needs to change. It's definitely really wrong. And like, once again, people are just selling their souls when they do this. If they choose to stay in a situation like this, in a relationship like that, they would have to completely disconnect from their emotions and from source, from God, right? Because they're doing something that they don't like, they don't want to do, and they're just doing it for money, right? So they become disconnected, right, from their your emotions, right? They're the language of your soul, right? So you will not be able to hear your soul anymore. You will not be connected to it. So, and that's just a very painful way to live, right? And so it's um, it's not something that I would recommend. The struggle is real. The struggle is difficult, but I would take the struggle at any time. The struggle is what makes me a better person. That it's what makes me into a more empathetic person. What makes me better. What makes me more understanding, right? It makes me into a better human being. And yes, the struggle is unpleasant. It's uncertain. Uh, at times you get scared, right? Especially if you have a child. But I know that at the end, God will bless the obedient. God will bless. God will take all that was stolen from us, right? And He will bless us, okay? And we will, experience the life that we're truly meant to be living, right? And but for that, our inner world had to change, okay? And we needed to do a lot of work, right? We needed to become better as people, because if God were to bless us immediately, right? we would just lose all of it. It's kind of like, I'm sure you guys have heard of like people winning the lottery, right? They win the lottery and then they just lose all the money within, I don't know, maybe a year or so, right? Maybe other people come in, right, that weren't supposed to be in their life and they just steal it from them, right? Or they just rob them. So this can happen too, right, guys? But so in order to be blessed and really in order for us to get blessed, right, as chosen ones, we needed to become better people. We needed to realize that it's not about us. We needed to become less selfish so we can actually use this money, right, to help other people. So when you get this money, it's not all about you. It's about helping others. It's about building things. It's about building systems that help others, right? And it's about giving, right? It's not about really receiving. Yes, you also had to recognize, or you had to realize your value this way and find that self-love. You had to develop that, right? Because when you love yourself, you're okay with just being yourself. You don't have any needs to impress anyone else with buying expensive things, right, that you don't need, that have just a stupid brand name on them, right? You don't not that there's anything wrong with liking nice things, but it doesn't have to have nice things, don't have to have a brand name. That's what I mean, right? So you can get them for a lot less money, and you can use the other money to do something better, to give, right? And so you had to learn to create boundaries this way. Narcissists don't keep on coming into your life and take from you, right? Take your life force, take your soul, take your energy, right? In order to gain for themselves, right? In order to grow their own businesses, in order to prosper in their work, right? So yeah, and this was done to you over and over again, and that's the reason also why you struggled financially, is because you gave your life force, you gave your energy, your good energy, to people that didn't deserve it, to people that came into your life and stole it from you, kind of unconsciously, unknowingly to you, right, at that time. And so God doesn't want to give you a huge blessing knowing that these people would just come into your life and just take it from you, okay? There's that too, right? And so to have a big blessing, you have to be ready for it, okay? You have to be ready with your energy, with your positive inner qualities, with your with you valuing the right things, right? If you were to get blessed, right, for example, and you don't have the right morals and values, you would just spend it on stupid stuff that you don't need to impress others that don't care about you, right? You would attract more snakes into that boat, okay, who would just use, and suck you dry, right? And so that's not what it's about, guys. It's really about embracing the minimalism, right? It's about and learning to appreciate the small things, right? While whether you have money or not, right? And so, because it's not the money, really, at the end of the day, we only need a certain amount of money, right? To it doesn't it can make us happier because we can feed ourselves and clothe ourselves, right, properly, and our children, right, but only to an extent, right? And after that, it just your happiness level stays the same, right, even if you have a lot more money, right? So it's not really about the money, so there's that, right? So just understand this, anyways, point number 6, guys, it's they have to move around a lot, right, for various reasons, like helping others, okay, or for their own protection, guys, okay. So often, more often than not, you're spiritually protected, right? And so a lot of things happen behind the scenes that you do not see, right? A lot of us get stalked, guys. We were just stalked with my child, okay, guys. I literally had to take my child into my hand, and a guy, once again, the same guy that I discussed in one of my videos, was stalking us. I felt like eyes were on me, right? Like someone was watching me at that time, and I was like, weird, right? And so I look and I see the same car, okay? It was the same guy, and he just kind of went ahead of us, and we were walking down the street, right? and he stopped and he started watching us, right? He was hoping that we would pass him by and he would say something, right? And so instead I just took my child. I ran across the street and into like the alleyways, we went through the alleyways and just to get away from him. But anyways, yeah, chosen ones experience a lot of stalking because of their energy, right? Because people in the dark, right? And that guy, by the way, he has a logo of 666 on his, monster, right? On his car. Okay, so that's interesting, right? That's like another sign that it's a very demonic individual, right? And so he just doesn't know it. But anyways, but so yeah, we had to run away, right? So you guys, oftentimes chosen ones have to change locations because they're not safe. They get stalked left and right all the time, and people in most cases are very just addicted to their energy because they have that Holy Spirit that's very prominent. They have good energy, right? And so people want that for themselves, and especially people in the darkness, right? And so it can get dangerous, right, too, guys? So of course you are spiritually protected because of that too, right? And so, but more often than not, you have to move locations, because sometimes you're guided to move away, right? You're guided to move somewhere else because God sees things that you do not see, right? And so you get intuitive downloads, right, to move, and you don't sometimes understand why it's happening, where it's coming from, right? But it just is what it is. It's for your own protection, right? And so our mind simply cannot comprehend it, right? So there's that, right? But of course, you might have to move to other locations because. You're needed in those locations. Your light is needed somewhere else, right? And so there's that too. Okay, and last but not least, guys, okay, is their self esteem more often than not has been crushed by their families, okay, guys? Chosen ones usually end up in very demonic families, okay, and or broken families, demonic families, right? Where they're very, very much suppressed, okay, on every level, okay, and they, more often than not, their families try to teach them the wrong ways. They try to teach them manipulation. They try to teach them to be the opposite of what they are on the inside, right? And so chosen ones are extremely strong because they broke away from that. They didn't buy into it, even though it was taught to them over and over again, right? And also, more often than not, chosen ones' self esteem has been affected, right? Because their families are demonic. Like, their parents might have told them that, mom or dad, right? That they were like useless and they were just, they were stupid and the opposite of what they actually are. And so their self-esteem, their confidence was extremely broken down, and because of that they had to rebuild all of that again, right? And you guys, as you know, right, confidence, self-esteem, it relates to money making later on in life, right? And opportunities too, like taking certain opportunities and not taking others, right? And so chosen ones, more often than not, they had to face a lot of struggles, financial struggles, because of that too, because they didn't have the confidence to go after the things that they wanted, right? Or after the people that they wanted, after the opportunities that they wanted or that they could do, right? And so they, in turn, they didn't make enough money. They maybe stayed in minimum wage jobs, right? Or they didn't think that they deserved to get paid more or to make more, right? Until they worked on their self-love, until they developed that self-confidence again, right? Until they built up their self-esteem again. And so there's that, right? So that's a huge issue too, guys, okay? If you want to get paid more, right, you need to learn to love yourself. You need to learn to value yourself and your skills and what you're bringing to the table, and that's actually not just an issue for the chosen ones. It's the issue for most people. And so, yeah, your confidence, your self-esteem, um, it does relate to the money making and how much you are going to charge, you know. And of course the culture that you grow up in too, right? Of course that relates to, and many other factors too, but this is just like one of them, you know. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope you guys are doing amazing today. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my books, guys. If you have children, check out my children's book. It's amazing. Okay, your children will really love it. The pictures are really great there. Okay, really the illustrator made the book, honestly, guys. Okay, he made the book. Okay, so he's like he did amazing. Okay, he created just these beautiful pictures. Okay, that I was really happy to see. Okay, guys, so check out my other book. Okay, I have 2 books out now, guys, and I have a course out, a video course on fitness and nutrition. And sign up for a session with me. Okay, if you're looking for hypnotherapy, I give amazing hypnotherapy sessions, guys, and so sign up. Okay, don't be shy. All right, thank you so much, guys, for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.